welcome back to Line Bites, and you join me here on my first proper sessions on the club water that I'm on for the winter. So I've done numerous overnighters here now, lost a couple of fish, not landed anything yet, and fish just jumped just over there, probably about, nope, coop. Yeah, so I've done about 4 or 5 night sessions now between work, getting COVID, which I'm still getting over, and lost a couple of fish in those sessions. I've not managed to actually land anything yet, which is quite frustrating. But on those sessions, the most time I've had really before it goes dark is maybe an hour and a half, to really look around the lake and try and spot fish. Now, on one of those sessions that you'll have seen, I did manage to find some fish jumping, and yeah, had a fish in the night, lost it in the weeds just before the net, which wasn't great. So I'm here now for, well, it's Monday, and I'm probably going to be here until about Thursday morning, where I've then got to head back off to London. And I'm absolutely buzzing because like I said, it's the first time that I've been able to get to the lake. I probably did 3 laps of the lake whilst I was walking around trying to see if I could see anything, and yeah, I finally feel like I'm able to get to know the lake a bit better. So I've set up pretty much right in the dead centre of the lake. Now we've got a southerly wind coming through, pressure's quite high, it's about 1020, something like that, but it's warm, it's about 11 or 12 degrees with that wind as well. Now initially I was going to go off the back of the wind, just because it's a shallow lake, and when I first got here the wind wasn't biting, but it wasn't incredibly warm. But as I've walked around and around, I've just not seen anything. Got speaking to one of the, well, like a groundsman, bailiff member from the club, and he was saying that generally speaking, where I am now in the middle of the lake, if you get a bit of mild weather like we do now in December, this is the place to be on this bank. Now I'm quite lucky that I've got the lake pretty much to myself, so it makes sense to plonk myself right in the middle, because hopefully that means when fish are moving back and forth, I will intercept them. So plan of action for the time being, I've got to re-spool my marker and spot rod, so I'm going to get some solid bags out and whack them out to some clear spots that I know are about 10 and a half wraps from reading online. I'll probably have a quick lead around before I do that, get those solid bags out, set up the spotted marker rod before I then do a bit more work with that to try and find some proper spots. So I want to be just on the silt, not so much on the hard patches here, and yeah, I'll then pop some bait onto it and we'll see how we go. Now, so much waterfowl on here, it's really off-putting. Sometimes you think it's fish, sometimes it is fish, but more often than not it's not. So what we've got with us today, I'm going to be using my CC Moore live systems again, as I currently don't have any of the DNA baits for me because I keep forgetting to put an order in, but in that I'm going to crush up a load of these Nash boilies just for a bit of attraction, and then in that I'm going to put a load of dead maggots. On the hook I'm going to be fishing one of my wafters, so most likely one of the Northern Specials. I'll go with a red, and then on my actual rod, my other rod, sorry, I will be fishing, so these EVG Diablo pop-up, so little 12mm pop-up. I'll just put a little lead shot underneath the hook and fish those in the solid bag. EVG are a new company to me. I'd never heard of them until recently, when one of the consultants, Christian, really nice bloke, got in touch with me and said, hey, do you fancy trying some of our baits? So I mean, yeah, I had a look on the website and they seemed pretty decent, small company, and they've got baits that I would fish. So he kindly sent me 3 different tubs of pop-ups. So I've got these Diablo ones, I've then got some that are kind of like a rhubarb, ginger and licorice, and then some which are cheese and garlic, which I can only describe as probably one of the worst things I've smelt. And at the moment I don't have a sense of smell because of COVID, but yeah, I can smell those buggers, so they're strong. So what I'm going to do is, I quite fancy these, and Christian says that these are his go-to, and he says that they're absolutely lethal on zigs, so I think these are going to be my best bet at producing a bite, and it'd be great to be able to put a fish on the bank using these as well, which I'm absolutely certain I will do at some point in the future, but just to be able to do it with my first fish on this new water would be epic. So yeah, I've been whittling on for quite a while now. I'm absolutely buzzing to be here, absolutely buzzing. 3.5 days. I'm going to be mobile if I think the weather changes, which it's not due to, or if I'm not feeling anything this time kind of tomorrow, then we'll move. Well, I'll reel in, have a walk around and see what we can do. But yeah, absolutely buzzing to be on the bank. It's going to be the first video that I put back since the Drayton blank, and that video went mental. It's on nearly 13,000 views in 9 days, so thanks to everyone that's subscribed off the back of that and everyone that's watched it, because I mean, for such a small channel, considering it wasn't the best session in the world with the weather, unbelievable response. So yeah, thank you for that. I'm gonna get, if you're new to the channel, then please remember, like and subscribe, hit that like button like it's one of your rods going off with a personal best, and then yeah, whack the notification button as well so you never miss a episode, much like putting your receiver on so you never miss a bite. I'll leave it at that because that's pretty corny, and yeah, I'll come back to you later on. Right then guys, so it's never going to win the award for the neatest bag in the world, but I just thought I'd show you quickly what I'm doing before I chuck them out. So to start with, just to try and nick a bite, I've got some solid bags, obviously staple of my angling, and inside that I've got some maggots on a clip attached to one of the Diablo pop-ups on my normal German rig with a crank hook, with about 3.5–4 inch hook length. So what we've got at the bottom here is some live systems from CC Moore. On top of that there we've got a few maggots and pellets dotted around, and then on top of that, just for a visual, I've gone for some pink strawberry crushed boilies from Nash. Now, don't normally use Nash baits, but it was the most visual thing they had in the tackle shop on site, so yeah, I thought that might just draw them down whilst I try and nick a quick bite. So I'm a big believer in keeping the fish grubbing once you get them onto your spot at this time of year. I'm also a big believer in moving away from kind of like the fish meal baits and moving more towards like the milk based protein baits. So plan of attack for this, I've got 2 bags of dead maggots. Now this is going to be very much an attractor that pulls the fish down, a visual attractor. They're dead, so they're not moving around. Reason I've gone for that method is purely because the amount of wildfowl in here, that extra wriggling from the worms isn't necessarily going to work it. The maggots isn't necessarily going to go in my favour. So what we've got there is probably, what's that, about 2 pints of maggots there. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of the CC Moore live systems, and what we've got here is the 15 mils, and I'm just going to chuck those in, handful of those in and around like that, as you can see there. There we go, and a few more. Alright, so that's probably about all I'm going to use for that. Take these 15 millers to the Ridge Monkey Crusher, cutter even. Not going to get too upset if 1 or 2 extra fall in. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get some of the 20 mils, and then we're just going to give them a chop up, loose chop up, and yeah, hopefully that just adds a bit of something else. So I'm just going to cut them loosely into like quarters, as you can see there. We're only fishing for kind of like a bite at a time, so by having all these small particles, the hope is that it just catches the fish's eye and gets them to come down. So this is the type of baiting strategy I like to use this time of year, and fingers crossed it comes good. So from there, I know a lot of you like to use the spoon, but if we have a look at that, we'll just start to mix that up. So I've actually added some micro pellets in there as well, some little 1 and 2 mils, just to add a bit of extra. So they're not actually high oil either, they're low oil pellets, and that's exactly what we want because they'll break down. And then finally, just a bit of the mainline IB that you can see there, absolutely gleaming, especially this time of year. 3:15, and yeah, not a great deal apart from some coots picking my rod up. It's happened in the last hour or so. Just sat here eating something, as I've not eaten since. I've not really eaten at all this morning today. Just watching some everything carp fishing. One of James's recent sessions that he did. Just started it, but it looks like it was a pretty hectic and successful session for him. So hopefully I can mimic something similar on here. But yeah, found the 2 spots now, and I'm pretty happy with them. I'm not going to spot out now until it's heading towards dark, just because the sheer amount of coots, they're the most persistent things I've ever seen in my life. And by spotting the gulls that are going to come in, coots will zone in on it, and eventually the swans, and I'm just setting myself up for failure really. So yeah, I'm gonna just sit here now, probably give it about an hour and a half. I'll then bring the rods back in, put fresh bags on, and then once those rods have gone back out again and I'm happy with exactly where they've landed, I'll get a couple of spods out, only 2 or 3 spods each, of that mix that you saw me make earlier on, just to try and get a bit of bait down. I'm seeing some slicks from where my right hand bag is, which is up against this like a bush island type thing. I don't even know what it is really. And it's made quite a slick even for this time of year, so breakdown of whatever's in there has really worked. Unfortunately the coots are zoning right in on it, which is not the one. When I do get a run and there's a fish attached onto the end of it again, I'm going to be second guessing it straight away. I don't even think I'll probably pay much notice to it, because the coots are just relentless. Some of the runs that I've had, where the coots have picked me up, honest to God, you would have thought it was like a one-toner, and then yeah, all of a sudden it stops, bobbin hits the floor, and one of those little black and white buggers surfaces, looking quite pleased with itself. So yeah, they're absolutely relentless. If it continues, I think what I'll probably do is move away from the solid bags and maybe move to a lead clip and a bit of coated braid for my hook length, just so I know that it's resetting itself. It's just dived over my spot again now, so I'm expecting the alarm to go off. But yeah, I don't want to have to be bringing in the rods every half an hour, 45 minutes, because I'm getting dived on and I'm not confident with the presentation. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. He missed the bait that time, luckily, but I mean, probably going to give it another whirl. So yeah, going to continue just watching the water, having something to eat, and yeah, browsing YouTube, because I mean, if I'm not making videos for YouTube in my spare time, then I'm normally watching other people's. It's quite sad really, isn't it? But hey, it's what I love doing. So yeah, I'll see you guys in a bit, and fingers crossed it's with a bit more news. Well guys, it's happened. First blood on the new water, and we've got ourselves a mirror. I'm not sure, I'm gonna say upper double, something like that. Just get rid of that head talk for a minute. Unhooked her in the water. Lovely looking fish. Buzzing with this, man. Buzzing. It's cold. She's covered in leeches, which I cannot stand. Anyone that knows me knows I have a massive leech phobia, which is kind of ironic considering I'm fishing in winter. But let's give her a quick weigh, and then we'll zero the scales afterwards, because I mean, to be quite honest with you, wasn't expecting that. Saying 20 pounds with the sling, so probably looking at about 17 or 18 with that, but we're working up now. But I mean, yeah, lovely old fish. Let's get some of these leeches off her, because those aren't fun, covered in lice as well. Hey, chill, 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 my friend, chill. Well, clearly the fish are moving in this water at the moment. With this nice, she's gonna let me pick her up. Clearly the fish are moving, and she is like a block of ice. But there we go. Chill out, chill out, chill out. I can't blame her really. It is so cold. She's like a block of ice. Right, let's just take a video of you and then you can go. She's still going. Covered in leeches and little lice. Love it. Right then, let's try one more time. Just let me take one video of you and then you can go. There we go, look at that. She's still tensing. There you go, look at that. What a fish to start off the campaign. So 17 or 18 pounds there. I'm not sure, I'm not going to split hairs. I hate leeches. Absolutely hate them. But yeah, lovely fish for early December, and I'm going to get her back because she's just really not happy in every sense of the word. There we go. Look at that. Yeah, 17, 18 pounds to open the account, and yeah, let's get her back. I feel like a lot of the pressure, particularly for this video, is off now. 16 and a half, 17 pounds. Just gone midnight last night on my left-hand rod. I went to bed quite early, reset the rods at about 6 o'clock, and I was happy with where they were. So probably fell asleep at about 8 o'clock. Since having COVID, I'm just not sleeping. I've mentioned enough that I've had COVID. So yeah, I went to sleep at about 8 o'clock and slept right the way through. No line bites or anything like that, and then all of a sudden just around midnight, left-hand rod tore off, and I mean absolutely tore off. Came flying out of the bivvy, took my sleeping bag and my little softy boots that I keep inside the sleeping bag with me, everything covered in mud, clingsmaned along the floor, because clearly I'm on a forward slope here, and managed to pick up the rod, and I was into a fish. Had a little bit of a nip one, pearl one with the rods as it went over and under my right hand rod, but yeah, managed to put the net under a wick fish. I'm not going to lie, whilst I was laid there before I went to sleep, I was really starting to doubt whether I was going to see anything this side of Christmas, and starting to question my own abilities, how you do. I know I've only done, that was my 5th night last night, and it's the first time I spent days on the lake rather than rocking up an hour before darkness, but yeah, I was really starting to wonder. So yeah, to have that fish, it was awesome. I've seen another fish roll just off the island again, so I've put another fresh bag out with that Diablo, like pepperoni and chorizo flavoured pop-up over there. Cast that with about 5 minutes of it showing, and then I've reset the left-hand rod exactly where it was. I've put out about 10 spoms in probably about if you were to measure the length, probably about a rod length from the left to right of where I had that fish. And the plan is just top that up maybe once every couple of hours, 4 hours maybe, and then this evening as it starts to go dark, I'm going to fish both rods on it, because it's clearly deeper water. It's one of the few places that swans actually can't get to, which is epic, because it means I'm not getting fully worked out. I'm getting the coos come and pick me up every now and again, pick bits up, but they're not actually picking my rigs up. So yeah, I'm not going to rest on my laurels, to be honest. If the swim doesn't produce anything again today, then tomorrow, which will be Wednesday, Wednesday night, I'm probably going to have a look and move around, because I haven't cracked the code. I've just managed to make sure that I haven't blanked yet. So yeah, whilst that feels exceptionally good to get off my chest, there's still a lot of work to do, and there's some absolute pearlers in here as well. So I'm gonna sit in now, have my breakfast. Forgotten my spoon, so eating porridge with a fork, have a brew, and just watch the water, because there's a lot of activity going on from bird life today. And in between that, I have seen a couple of fish show, so everything is still to play for, and I'm just buzzing, absolutely buzzing. It's never going to win awards for the biggest or the prettiest fish, but to get one, what we're on now, the 14th, 15th of December, yeah. I've just had a recheck on both the rods. Reason being was left-hand rod. I'm pretty sure I was done on it. So had a real tetchy, like twitchy take, and I thought it was coots, because I mean, why wouldn't it be coots in this place? Drama was, rather than just hitting the rod straight away like you would on any other water. I've been picked up that many times that I've kind of conditioned myself to look to see if there's any wildfowl around the areas where my baits are, if I'm getting any line bites, or in this case a run. And yeah, there wasn't anything that surfaced, no coots or anything like that in the area. But by the time I lifted into the rod, there was nothing there. So I need to probably just get over the fact that I'm going to be striking into things that aren't always fish, and just strike as opposed to looking first and then making a decision and delaying that time between the fish picking up the bait and me setting the hook. So it's a learning curve, and I'm kind of seeing myself off with it, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. Talking to Richard, he's told me that where I'm fishing to is pretty much the deepest part of the lake, and there's a gully that kind of runs all the way along from the island down to the next set of islands. So I'm kind of where I think the fish will be holed up in this deeper water. So it makes sense, I think, to fish 2 rods on the spot like I have been doing. But I mean, we can only see. There are a few more people showing up on the lake now. There's a bloke that's turned up on the other side, about 3 pegs down, and then a guy bucketed the swim opposite me, but then subsequently moved it, and I don't know where he's gone. So yeah, it's starting to get busier. Maybe if all of these anglers like move to different parts of the lake, similarly to like he's down that end, this other guy that's turned up is up at that end, it'll maybe get the fish that are moving around or are swimming around actually moving a bit more, and we might come across something, but who knows. I'm still confident. I'm still really confident. I don't see why we couldn't put another fish on the bank. So whilst I've got a minute, just thought I'd show you how I'm approaching the zig fishing. So I've got a normal zigger liner, and on one rod I've got a red, the other one I'm using a yellow, because I'm trying to mimic the loose feed that I've been putting out over the top. And then on this one I've gone with a black piece of foam with a couple of maggots just to top it off. And then on the other one I've gone for a yellow piece of foam with a few maggots just to top it off as well. The idea being that those maggots just create an extra signal. I'm using a Nash floater claw, which I find is a great hook pattern for zig fishing and surface fishing. And yeah, fingers crossed this is what it will do the bite. So I'm fishing one at 1.5 foot and the other at 2.5 feet, and we'll just see if either of those produce. Right then guys, well, for the observant amongst you, you've noticed that we've had a change of swim. So I've come on to the swim just to the right of mine, as I actually saw a fish show this side, but because of the small dot islands between us, I couldn't present a bait to it. So that was the first reason. And secondly, I've got two lads that were fishing in front of me, and I just felt like there was a lot of pressure there and it might push the fish away from it. So this part of the lake's a lot quieter, and I have a feeling that this end's got busy because the lads that have been round have obviously got talking to me and a couple of the others that have been on, and know that I've had a fish and other fish have been lost and fish have been in and around that area, so it makes sense for them to want to be down there. I really don't like fishing in pressured waters if I can avoid it, so it just made sense for me to move down and try the last night here. Also gave me the opportunity to find some new spots for future sessions. And yeah, that I've done. So I'm fishing at 12, 13 wraps out towards the Spit Island. It's left of the peg, and I've found an awesome spot, probably about, well, from leading around, it's probably about maybe 20 foot wide, length to length, and then probably similarly back. I think it's the start of that gully. But what I've found is a nice area of silt. Now what happens is there's a weed bank, hit a nice gravel spot, and you get that nice little tapping on the edge of the marker rod. It then glides over this smooth silty bit and then starts tapping again before it hits weed. So I'm going to present on that silty spot. I'm still fishing zigs at the moment, but later on I will swap to the solid bags again, and I'll put the remainder of the bait that I've got out, fish those two rods on there. We'll see what happens. I've seen one fish show in this area, and I kind of feel like it's probably my best opportunity, and just kind of, as the fish probably move off the pressure, I'm going to do exactly the same thing. So yeah, we've got plenty of time in the bag. It's coming up, I think it's nearly 2 o'clock now, something like that, I'm not entirely sure. So I'll start baiting up that area just before dark, like I did the other night, and hopefully we can reproduce the same results of the first night and less the results of the second night. So yeah, I'm just going to finish setting up base camp now and just watch the water. Don't know much about this peg. The bailiff did tell me the name of it, but totally forgotten. It's next to the one that they call aerator, and the one that I was in before is apparently called narrows. So yeah, I'm buzzing. Still got that itch to catch something else, and you know what, don't see why we can't. Just got to keep a positive attitude. So yeah, I'm going to finish off now, and I'll catch you guys in a bit. Right guys, it's coming up 20 to 4, and yeah, I've just created 2 new solid bags, which you'll just have seen there. Just waiting to go out. Spotted out earlier on, and that was a mistake. The swans went ballistic over the spot, and picked the zigs up and all sorts. So I'm just going to wait until about 4:15, 4:30 till it goes dark, and then I'm going to put some spods back out again over the spot. Got 2 solid bags on. I'd love to be able to put another fish on the bank tonight. It's always a bit of an anticlimax when you catch on the first night and then subsequently sit there and blank, so I'd just love to be able to, especially with having moved spots. But it's all a learning curve. I'm in a new swim. I've learned where some spots are now for next time I come, if I put a bit more time into it, and yeah, there's everything to play for. Not feeling overly confident, although I have just seen something roll which didn't appear to be a coot, so no, it was a coot. But hey, there we go. I don't know how tonight will go, but we'll see. And yeah, I mean, at least we've had 1 fish on this session. I'm going to just sit here now, getting things prepped, ready to go for last light, and then yeah, we'll get some food on the go and we'll be into it. My confidence is probably at an all-time low. It's about as low as it was when I was doubting myself on that first night. So I mean, I've learned stuff on this session, which is great, and I'm learning more and more about the lake. Once I get my deeper back, kind of the contradicting information that I'm getting from different people that I've spoken to, I'll be able to work that out. I'll be able to work out whether the deep bowl's over that side there or whether that gully there is the deeper bit, because I'm just guessworking now and I haven't been over to that bowl. But yeah, I'm still fishing and I absolutely love it. So without further ado, I'm going to have another coughing fit, and then once I've done that, just start getting prepped for the evening. I'm looking at new bait companies to try. What I'd like to know is your suggestions that kind of stray away from your big bait companies like your Mainlines, your Stickies, DNAs, CC Moores. What I'm interested in is those more kind of niche companies, as I'm looking for a new bait to try, just out of interest more than anything. And when I move on to the campaign water at the end of February, I want something that I can mix in with my tiger nuts and my maize, my hemp, my tars, my maples, things like that. So yeah, let me know in the comments below. I'd really be interested to see what you're all using, and hopefully give me some ideas from there. So yeah, I'll leave you for the time being, and hopefully we get another fish. Welcome back after another eventful night. Yeah, so it's just gone probably about 8:15 now. It's just coming up, you can see, light enough where I'm actually able to get some filming done. Yeah, the ISO making it look like I'm in some sort of wood rave. Last night, where to begin? Oh god, I think I probably jinxed myself in that last entry where I said not feeling overly confident. So yeah, where did it start? Where to start? There's a lot that happened. So spotted out over the spot, like I said I was going to at last light, and all went well. Put 2 solid bags out on it, literally just as it was going to be dark, and felt like if I was going to have a chance, I was in with as good as any. Bags had been in maybe 5 minutes, and the right hand rod pulled up tight, and off it went, fish kiting round to the right. Bream, that was great. So I was like, well, at least I'm presented on a clear spot, I guess. So unhooked that in the water, let it go. Definitely not worth getting the cameras and lights out for and things like that. Redid the bag again, cast it out, and got into the bivvy. I started getting liners on the left hand rod. I was like, oh, brilliant. Looked outside and the swans were there, and they were relentless. Kept on picking the rods up and things like that. So it was only the left one that they were picking up, not the right. So I thought, you know what, I'll just leave them, and then once they've had their fill, I'll bring the rods back in and cast them back out again. So about 8 o'clock, brought both rods in. Swans are still feeding, but I thought I've got some solid bags, I'll just clip up, get them all ready, so as soon as the swans move off down the other side of the lake, we're in and we're fishing. So cue probably about 9:15, and yeah, one of the left-hand rod managed to get the rods out. All hunky-dory, happy with that. They're on the spots, brilliant, feeling confident. Still got plenty of time to go before when I've been getting most of my action or activity on this lake, which is between like 11 and 1. So like, hallelujah. At this point, bloke 2 pegs down from me, so he would have been in the peg next to me had I not moved, decides that he's going to be some sort of cheap like Aldi version of Alan Blair, and starts blasting this drum and bass, and like I don't know what he's got with him, because that wasn't coming from a phone, it was like a proper speaker, and it was horrendous, not what anyone wants to hear. And like, bearing in mind it's the acoustics on this lake are pretty impressive, everyone can hear it. Just as I was getting out of the bivvy with my head torch on to go and speak to him and tell him to turn it off, someone else did, luckily, which, good on you, because people like that are the reason why more and more places are stopping being clubs or day tickets and going to syndicates, because one of the first things in the rulebooks that it says here is no loud music, TVs, radios, speakers, all that sort of shit. So I mean, by rights he should, if there was a bailiff around, be kicked off, but that's not the case, because it was getting on for 10 o'clock at night. So return to the bivvy, get myself settled in, and yeah, just doing a bit of admin, and all of a sudden the left-hand rod screams off. I'm like, oh, thank God for that. That is a proper take. That's not a coup picking it up. That is a proper take. Now, strike into it immediately without looking out to the water, and I'm into something, and it feels heavy, and I can feel its head shaking and things like that. And then, just as I managed to like get an eye onto the area where it's come from, I see the swans. I'm like, oh no, I hope that's not what's happening. But I thought to myself, you know what, if it was the swans, they'd be going mental right now. So don't really have anything to worry about, just keep reeling it in. And this fish was just keeping deep, or as deep as it can do, and you could feel the head shaking. That's how I was reading it. But what I noticed out the corner of my eye was that the swans were getting closer and closer, till about 3 rod lengths off, where the big male swan is head down, neck out, being pulled along by a size 6 crank barbless hook in its bottom lip. So caught a new PB of sorts. I managed to get him within a foot of the bank, had my waders on, got the net over him, and was yeah, just about able to get him out. On the plus side, that scared them off for the rest of the night, which was awesome. So not to be deterred, put the rods out for probably about the 6th time that evening, knowing that bite time's still not there just yet, so I've got plenty of time. Got my spot on, I was like, oh, mucky, yes, this is great. So went to bed now because I was getting knackered, and I'm just getting incessant liners all night on the left-hand rod, just single beeps, beep, 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 beep. Every time I look out, I can't see any coots or any wildfowl messing with the rod. I'm like, Roger, okay. Eventually it just starts going beep, 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 beep. So I go out to have a look at it, and some weed, a ball of weed has drifted down into the rods and is catching on it, and that's what's pulling the bobbin up tighter and tighter each time. So I was like, right, I'm not going to live with this. Reeled in the rod, reeded it again, recast it, made sure that the weed bed was out of the way this time, and yeah, I was like, right, bloodied. But not unbowed, we're going to crack on. So got that rod out, went to bed, and yeah, at about 1-2 o'clock, the aerator comes on like it does every night. Something that I didn't think about when I first got into the swim was what the aerator would do to a lot of the dying weed that is now moving around the lake freely. Well, what does it do, you might ask? Well, it tends to push that weed bed down in the direction away from the aerator. And what does that mean? That means that it goes straight into whoever's rods are the swim down. So once again, right on rod, bobbin just tightened right up, and I was like, I know exactly what's happened here. So I got out of the bivvy, and this time got into the water and actually moved the weed bed out of the way, because I didn't want to reset the rod, particularly at this point, because I was just like, I was knackered, and I'd made that much, I'd done that many recasts that I just thought to myself, I don't have the balls to do it again. So moved that, got into bed, and yeah, everything was really quiet until this morning. So I've been up since about 6 o'clock, just watching the water. and yeah, not much had happened. Just started to pack down now because I've got to get to pets at home to go and pick up some stuff for Cass's Christmas present, and the right hand rod just pulled up tight and was away, and you could see it arcing over like that. There was no coots or anything like that. Picked up into the fish and could feel it this time. It was pulling back and it wasn't a swan, and yeah, unfortunately between me and that fish there was a massive weed bed, and at some point that weeds just helped the fish bump itself off. It's the drama with using barbless hooks. So yeah, I'm going to give it probably about 45 minutes, 50 minutes now while I pack down, and then I'm going to get on my way. Overall, I do feel like I'm starting to learn the lake as much as you can for this time of year. I've now got a good idea over, what's that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the swims here. And yeah, I've got some good ideas for where I'm going to go next on here as well. I think I'm going to continue to play it how I'm playing it with solid bags and live and dead maggots, and hopefully we'll get something big out of here. Still buzzing, absolutely buzzing that we've had that first fish, because no one else on the lake has had anything this week, so yeah, that's one hell of a result. But I think, yeah, moving forward we've got a lot to be positive about, and I've learned something on the session. If you're learning something on the session, then I think generally speaking you're doing well. That means that there's one less session between you and the next capturing the biggest fish out of that lake or a PB, so yeah. I'm going to leave it there, guys. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed this one. Came out a bit earlier than I thought it would. I was planning on doing a full video and bringing it out at the end of February once I've done the full campaign, but speaking to a couple of lads, they're keen for me to put it out this side of Christmas, so it'll be a two-parter. If you enjoyed this and you're new to the channel and you've made it this far, firstly, well done. It's been a bit of a marathon, and yeah, if you're not, then please subscribe and hit that like button, and yeah, comment down below to let me know you're enjoying the content. Also, just before we do go, like I said earlier on, looking to move away from kind of some of the more mainstream bait companies, just more out of interest and just to try and mix things up a bit, because I've been using DNA and CC more now for, well, I've been using DNA since they used to sell on the Northern Carp forum before they even got a website, and CC more probably for the last 6 years on and off. So I'm looking for a new bait company that's maybe not as mainstream that I can start looking at for my new campaign water. Ideally they've got something that's kind of like a nutty based bait, and also it's important that they do wafters and fluoros as well. So yeah, hit me up in the comments down below so I can have a look, see what you guys are using. So yeah, have a good Christmas. Hope the new year goes well and no one's affected too much by this COVID. Trust me, it's not something that you want to get. 2 weeks on now and my lungs are still in bobbins and I'm not in bad shape. So yeah, have a good Christmas. If you're on the bank over Christmas, I hope you utilise all that new stuff you got and catch a new PB and tight lines, wet nets, and we'll see you again. B-roll.